Greetings from Loki at this place. First, I file the natural nail from the inside so I can apply the color as close to the cuticle as possible. But you've probably encountered this problem. I do a wet cleaning and show you the result. Hello, my name is Olga Tolkacheva and I am the lead instructor at the school. Today we are going to talk about Thixo gel polishes. I'll show you a few quick ways to apply gel polish using a yellow shade as an example. Let's get started. I'm assessing my model's nails. I noticed some lifting and a hydrous skin type. After completing the manicure, I move on to applying an elastic base layer. Here I choose an acrylic rubber base. First, with a minimal amount of base on the brush, I go over the entire perimeter of the nail, bringing the base as close to the cuticle as possible and carefully paint along the side walls. Even though I'm using a small amount of base right now, I still make sure there are no uncoated areas on the nail. If you don't bring the base all the way and leave dry spots on the nail, bare patches, then later, when you reinforce with hard materials and go beyond the edge of this elastic base, you'll get lifting in those areas. At the end, I add a bit more base to create a medium layer for better cushioning, since I'll be working with a hard gel next. To reinforce the free edge while keeping the length, I make a border along the perimeter of the free edge using hard gel confiture in a bottle. You can periodically cure it with a flashlight so the border doesn't spread out, since the gel is quite runny, but I managed to apply it fully to the entire free edge. Now I'm taking the 0.5 shade of hard gel. It has a milky color which will help me later when applying the yellow gel polish, as it will give me opacity. I create the borders on all the nails at once, cure them thoroughly in the lamp and then proceed to leveling. And since I'll be working with hard gel, this will also strengthen the nail. With a small amount of product on the brush, I coat the entire nail, creating a slip layer, which will make it easy to distribute a larger bead of product and even out the nail's architecture. The brush from the bottle is very soft, rounded in shape, and it's quite easy to bring the product up to the cuticle and paint along the side walls of the nail without using a fine brush, which will save you time. But remember, do not apply the hard product beyond the border of the previously applied elastic base. This will lead to lifting. Next, I place a larger drop of gel and on the wet base, distribute it from the cuticle to the tip. The gel is very easy to work with, it doesn't run, I don't even have to turn the finger over, just slightly adjust it with a fine brush and the nail is perfectly even. After curing, I remove the sticky layer and start shaping the nail, and it's important to do this now, before applying the gel polish. First, I file the natural nail from the inside. I do this with a regular diamond bit. Right now, I'm using a flame-shaped bit with a medium soft grit. Then I shape the nail with a file. And if I see any unevenness on the surface, I correct it as well. It will be much easier for you to apply gel polish if you prepare the nail as much as possible and create a smooth surface. Right now, you can see that I also slightly reduced the thickness on the sides near the free edge. I used a 240 grit file for this. This is a fairly soft abrasive, so it won't leave deep grooves that would be visible under the gel polish. So now you can start applying it, but first make sure to thoroughly remove all the dust and degrease the nail. To get the color as close to the cuticle as possible, I push it back with a pusher, and after picking up some gel polish on a flat brush, I use gel brush number 4. I start applying the color right at the cuticle. The brush is flat and thin, which allows you to apply the color evenly and precisely along the cuticle line. And I don't need a thin detail brush here. I work carefully and take my time. I don't pick up too much gel polish on the brush so it doesn't run. I just apply a thin layer to the nail. Since I evened out the nail with a milky shade, which already gives me good coverage, the yellow color, which is considered one of the most difficult to apply, goes on beautifully. Without curing the first layer, I immediately take a bit more gel polish with the brush from the bottle and distribute it around the perimeter of the nail. And here it's very important not to press on the brush, so you don't just drag all the product to the tip, but instead achieve an even distribution. The Thixo gel polish collection features ultra-pigmented shades that are easy to apply in a single coat. But there are challenging shades, such as yellow, white and black, which are always recommended to be applied in 2 thin layers for best results. But as you can see, using the yellow shade of Thixo gel polish as an example, I managed to get full coverage with just 1 coat. Now all that's left is to apply the top coat and it's done. But you've probably encountered the problem of craters appearing in the top coat, especially when you apply it over gel polish without removing the sticky layer. There is a solution. Now I'm applying the BSG anti-crater top coat without first removing the sticky layer from the gel polish. Look how quickly it goes on. No craters appear at all. If you've faced this problem, make a note of this top coat. It also works great over any stamping and doesn't create craters. I'm doing a wet cleanup and showing you the result. This is one of the ways to apply a complex color. But now let's try to apply this same shade in one layer on a clear base. I'll be demonstrating on the thumb. And the task here is even more challenging because the thumb itself is larger than all the others. I've already applied an elastic base and I'm also creating a border. Here I'll be strengthening and leveling it with a hard confiture gel in a bottle but using the clear one. The clear gel is even more liquid than the ones with pigments. And if you find it difficult to create a border with it, you can use a thicker gel, also clear or in a shade close to the natural nail, and easily make the border with that, then continue leveling with the liquid gel. Here I first set the border with a small flashlight and immediately start leveling with the clear hard gel. The full curing will be done in the lamp after the leveling is finished. As usual, I first apply a thin layer over the entire nail. Then I take a larger drop of gel and even out the nail plate. This is more difficult than using a nude shade because it's harder to spot imperfections with clear gel. But overall, for an experienced technician, this won't be a problem. The clear gel behaves just as well, it doesn't run, but you shouldn't spend too long admiring how quickly it self-levels. I use a fine brush to pull the product into areas where it's lacking and then I send it to cure. After polymerization, I file the nail into shape. I lightly went over the surface with a file, but here I did it just to double check myself and make sure the nail surface is as smooth as possible. I also filed the nail from the inside, thoroughly degreased it, pushed back the cuticle with a pusher and applied gel polish. Here, I apply it directly with the brush from the bottle. The brush itself is very soft and has a rounded shape, which allows you to apply the color evenly and as close to the cuticle as possible. There is only a small amount of gel polish on the brush, which lets me calmly paint along the side walls of the nail without worrying about it flooding. First, I apply a thin layer around the entire perimeter of the nail. If you're afraid to get as close as possible to the cuticle and edges of the nail with the brush from the bottle, you can use a fine brush to bring the color in deeper. I take a detail brush, pick up a little gel polish on it and bring the color closer to the cuticle. You can use the same technique to bring the product along the side walls of the nail. But this step is very important. One wrong move and the product can flood the cuticle. To prevent this, always make sure to secure the client's finger well so they don't jerk at the most crucial moment, and don't forget to anchor your working hand. I use my pinky as a support. It's more comfortable for me that way. Some people use their ring finger instead. This way I can precisely control the movement of the brush. After working with the thin brush without curing the first layer, I pick up a bit more gel polish on the brush from the bottle and start distributing it evenly along the perimeter without applying pressure to the brush. And when working with gel polish in a single layer, regardless of the shade, it's important not to use too much product. If you apply too much product, the least that can happen is the material will run onto the sides and the tip. The worst part is that the thick layer of gel polish simply won't cure properly. Your goal is to distribute the product evenly over the nail surface to avoid these problems. If it's difficult to do this with the brush from the bottle, you can always help yourself with a thin brush. Some might say that this takes a lot of time. Yes, at the beginning, when you start working with this method, it might take you some time to get the hang of it. No one can do it quickly and perfectly right away. Practice is always necessary. But returning to our question, can you apply a yellow shade of gel polish in one layer on a transparent surface? The answer is right in front of you on the screen. Honestly, I fell in love with the collection of ultra-pigmented gel polishes. Any shade, even the tricky ones, can be applied in just one coat. All the colors cure perfectly. The consistency of the gel polish itself is very pleasant and comfortable to apply. If you have any questions, write them in the comments and see you next time.